This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details. FAN.
It's a Wolves Talk Back Wednesday on KFAN. We've got your shot to win Wolves-Lakers Game 3 tickets for Friday night. Just send us your talk back on the iHeartRadio app, telling us in 30 seconds or less how you think the Timberwolves beat the Lakers in this series. Stay tuned all day today to hear if you are selected as a winner for Game 3 tickets. Hit the talk back.
Wexler Week.
Do you have any idea how many years now we have been chatting with our next guest on the traditionally the day before the National Football League draft? Is it 15? Is it 20? Is it 25?
It predates me, and we just are about to cross, I think, 16 years of me on this show.
I got to think it's about 20 years. Maybe the guest himself, will have a better knowledge of that, although we're small fish to fry for him. Marty Wexler III, kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Marty, do you know how long we've been chatting with you, when the first year was that we first began this on-air relationship?
My gosh, I have no idea, Danny. It's been a long time.
I got to think it's 20. It's got to be close to 20 years, I think, right in that range.
Yeah, because I've been doing this for about 25 now. So
that makes sense.
So 30. Holy crap. I've been doing this for almost 30 years.
Well, you don't sound any older than you ever did. That's the beauty of it.
Well, yeah, I don't move as well as I used to, Dan, but that's probably true for all of us.
That's pretty much true for each and every one of us. Gargi tells me you are in Green Bay. Is that true?
Yeah, we're in Green Bay for the draft. We've been going the last couple. We set up. I got 2 new clients this year, 2 new division clients. So we have some extra meetings set up here, and we got some new software that we have to show everybody how. There's a whole bunch of questions on it. I sent you that. Like a rudimentary version of that when I sent the stuff over this year, and so it's pretty complicated, and because we got a lot more data than we've ever had.
There's no, how do you like the Green Bay experience? There's a lot of people curious.
It's terrible. I hate it.
No kidding.
What's the worst place? Oh my God, it's terrible. It's first of all, there's no place to stay. I mean, there's no place to stay. I had my son book the trip, which was stupid of me, and I had him book it, and there's no good hotels. I mean, it starts with that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I got to tell you, it's like I'm used to like a 5-star hotel with large conference rooms and really nice restaurants and bar and. Right now, I think we're staying in a Best Western, and there's like raccoons in the parking lot banging on the trash can. It's terrible. How the hell do people even live here? This is just
a lot of drinking.
I might explain it.
We're used to doing parties, and we're used to having stuff like that going on.
Yeah.
I was looking at restaurants. Kind of want to host something. You try to find a 5-star restaurant in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Wow.
And you got to. I challenge you to look it up yourself because I looked it up, and you know what gets a 4-star rating?
What's that?
Dave and Buster's. Dave and Buster's gets a 4-star rating in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Wow. That's a great thing for a function. Yeah. We do a lot of kids' birthday parties there.
Red Lobster is 4.5. So it's like, what the hell? Yeah. This is just absolute torture.
So you don't accept the notion that because people who believe in it say it's awfully quaint.
There's a difference between quaint and prehistoric.
The pancake place. There's a pancake place.
Yeah, great. Let's try to have a meeting with an NFL executive at a pancake place.
Chives Restaurant?
I talked to Roger about this. I talked to Roger when I met with him. I said, don't do this again.
You don't think there'll ever be another chance?
Keep it like in Vegas or keep it somewhere, at least in a metropolitan area instead of some farm. It smells here.
Tavern in the Sky. Tavern in the Sky has a great view of Lambeau, it says. That's exciting.
Great. Let's go look at a 100-year-old stadium. That'd be great.
You're not going to be. I don't think you're going to be invited back with this description.
Dan, I don't think I want to be invited.
Yeah, that's probably
Al's Hamburger Shop. Sounds good.
Al's is good, actually.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good, I think. They got good burgers.
Great. That's not what we're looking to do. We're looking to entertain. There isn't even there's one gentleman's club in the entire city.
You still do that?
A place called the Oval Office. Yeah, we got it. We've already arranged
Oval Office?
That's what it's called.
The Oval Office, you say?
That's what it's called.
You can't make that. Have you visited?
I can only imagine what that's going to be like.
Yeah, God bless you. All right, well, then let's get to it, at least, because people are clamoring. They want to know. We live, as you know, in an AI world to varying degrees, and we're hearing constantly that AI is solving very complex situations and challenges. Well, National Football League draft, at least in the football sense, the NFL sense, is big time complicated, right? So, is there an application here that you're aware of, or that you guys are tapping into?
Oh, no, there's absolutely. We're kind of past. We've had the conversation in the past about how much data we have and how we process it all, and you got this artificial intelligence. So what we want to do is even be a little beyond that. So I'm kind of calling it artificial intelligence. It's kind of like predictive. We have so many different data points that we put in here, and we have them all together, and then you can do we've done a lot of, I don't know the mathematical term, but you look at it from about 8 different points of view, and you can kind of figure out, here's the patterns, here's what makes a successful draftee. You have all this information that we've had from years past on these players, and so you can kind of put it together and say, well, this guy worked out, that guy didn't work out. What was the commonality there? But it takes a lot of computer power to do it. And so the good part about it is that, we can kind of predict best players for one team versus best players for another team. There's a ton of computing power that's going into it. So,
well, I was going to ask you, you got to, with as many data points as you're talking about, you must need to have some really significant computing power.
Yeah, you have to have it. It's because you have to be able to take a look at not only the testing data, but you have to break down all the game data. That's the good part about that artificial intelligence stuff. That can break it down much quicker. What was the play supposed to be? How the guy perform? But beyond that, you got to have to project that into what the next team that's going to have this guy. What are they going to be able to do with him? So we've had talks with all our clients, and we've downloaded most of their playbooks, their tendencies. Yeah. So we're able to say, okay, well, this guy's a better fit here, that guy's a better fit there, and we pass that along to the various teams. And just because that's why you see all these mock drafts now, and they all kind of have the same guys, and they're just stupid because it doesn't make any sense that a player's going to fit here. Like, let's take a guy like Danielle Hunter, for the Vikings had him, right?
Yes.
And he, I think, had like 2 sacks in college or something like that. But we had him projected as and I think Vikings drafted him where? I don't remember, like 3rd, 4th round. Yeah, we had him projected as a star all the way along, and said, hey, you gotta trust us on this. Now, people are smarter about, trusting us. Not all our clients trust us. The funny part about this, Dan, is I get paid whether you use my choices or not.
That's the beauty.
So there's teams, there's some teams, and you can kind of figure out which ones they are. That do a little bit better in the draft than other teams do.
Do you worry at all about, the concern on AI in other fields is that sooner or later AI is going to control us rather than we control the AI. Do you have any concern about that?
I'd say pull the plug.
Oh, just pull it.
Just unplug it.
If you're worried about that,
never thought of that.
Unplug it.
That's a thought.
That's what I'd do.
I think you're sleeping on the Oval Office, by the way. We're going to get back to it.
Oh, you got some photos? Or
well,
what?
I just checking in on the website.
No, we did a little work on it. I'm not saying that everything in Green Bay is bad.
Yeah, well.
Here's what I'll tell you. They can make a mean old-fashioned heater, and I think you can pick one up at like a convenience store. that is
yes. Sad.
You get it with
them
gas.
Everywhere, and they're pretty good.
Yeah, sad but true. So we know going into a draft that every team talks about they have different draft needs, and the term, one of the cliche terms going around these days is scheme fit. So how much do you take into account scheme fit?
Well, that's the thing, Dan. If you're going to be one of our clients, you agree to give us your playbook. You agree to give us the coaching charts. we then dig back into the coaching history. We break it down, and we literally record every play of every, like, if you have an assistant coach on a staff, because a lot of people don't realize that assistant coaches also influence decisions. And we get this, all the data together, and you can tell, hey, this guy, there are certain statistics that we have, like when we're doing all the measurements we have, all the physical testing we do, and the 5-yard dash and the get up drill and
toe grip,
hot hands and some of those drills, toe grip. At certain of those stats are more important for certain positions for certain schemes. So that's why you got to be real careful. And this is something I think that we've really made big progress in the last couple of years. You can take a look at a couple of teams we work with. There's a reason why they're at the top of the NFL.
So it's not whether they're good, it's whether they will be good for that scheme and that team.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what matters. What is
you could be a GM, Dan.
Yeah, see, learning from you over the years. What is the analytic? I think it's called athletic potential. I mean, we certainly heard about, potential and so forth, but what is athletic potential? What the hell does that even mean?
That kind of, we tried to simplify this for everybody because, to be honest, if you take a look at all the statistics that you have, you can get lost in that stuff. We try to make it easy. This is especially kind of a thing for the owners because the owners don't take, they kind of just look at it and say, what am I spending my money on here? And so you give them a number that says, this is the kind of athlete this guy is. This is the kind of, if he was doing any sort of athletic activity, how would he be? And it's a projection. And the reason we make it so simple, it's like a 1-digit number, is because you don't want the owner getting too involved, and you don't want that. So you give them a number and hit, well, the guy's an 8. That owner thinks that's pretty good. So we try to simplify some of the statistics for you, Dan, and we try to make sure that you can take it as little or as much of the information as you want. But it generally means that you're good. That's like Hunter I was talking about there.
Yeah, right.
He's a hell of an athlete.
Yeah,
I bet that guy would be a great soccer player. He'd probably be really good at pretty much anything he does.
Hey, by the way,
hockey player, something like that.
I don't know how much you've ever gone into this, but the Minnesota Timberwolves, the NBA team here, have a very good, still pretty young basketball.
Boy, what about that game last night?
That was didn't go so well for the Wolves, unfortunately.
I had money on the Lakers, so I thought.
You did okay. Anthony Edwards is his name. And Anthony Edwards basically grew up playing football, and there are a lot of people who, we like the fun game of, well, I wonder what he'd be like as a football player. Have you ever done any Anthony Edwards projections, what kind of football player he might have been?
We don't have a lot of demand for that, Dan. We got so many things we have to measure. Yeah. We're not going outside of football.
I think he'd be good.
If we don't have to.
He gave one of his measurements to the crowd a couple of games ago. He was fined $50,000 for it, so you wouldn't even have to work that hard, I don't think.
That's one of the things we're going to get into a little bit later is that you do test every part of every player. You mentioned the computer power that you have, does that? Are you suggesting that allows you to actually predict the draft for your clients?
Of course, that's one of the things we can do. I mean, you get tendencies on general managers. You find out the kind of players they're interested in, and the best part about the new software is it is time specific. So somebody makes a choice. That guy goes out of the database, and all of a sudden, then now, okay, does that reorder the order of the players for this particular team? Does this, maybe you were looking at a tight end in round 1, but and like 2 of them get taken. Now it's like, okay, well, there's a little more urgency there to maybe move a couple of those players up, or and again, we try to go over all this with the teams ahead of time and get what they want to do with it. But we have an up to the second order. You know how they have that draft chart, that Jimmy Johnson value chart for draft picks and stuff like that? That's antiquated. That doesn't make it. You have to make sure that you take into account the players that are available. And a draft choice is not worth a certain number of points or certain. It depends on what else is out there. Depends on your scheme. Depends on what you think the other teams are going to do. And because of this AI stuff, we can pretty accurately determine what most of the draft picks are going to be. And the difference is that for one team, it might mean something. For a different team, it might mean something else. They may have completely different needs, but it's important that they have some idea of what's going to happen, because being prepared in the draft is probably the most important thing.
Marty Wexler III, the official draft expert of the Bumper to Bumper program, chatting with us from Green Bay, a town that he doesn't seem to be enjoying all of that much.
I hope we never come back here again.
How's the internet, by the way, at the Best Western? Is it okay?
It's fine. It's not,
Okay. Because, I mean, you got for all your fancy stuff.
I just think this is not the kind of place. Find me a good restaurant. That's what I like. I like to entertain.
Yeah.
Part of what we do here is we have very, clients that we want to take care of.
Sure.
This is not an entertainment mecca.
The junior executive presidential second floor at the Oval Office sounds appealing. It sounds like what you'd be looking for. Just looking at their website. That's all I'm going to say. Or go to Appleton.
I was told that we should have put a little more thought into this trip in terms of the travel, but that's the way. And I already took it up with him.
Yeah,
but I did talk to Roger about this. I said, because we have so much data and stuff that where we can predict a whole bunch of things, and there's gambling concerns, and so I got to go to Roger and get a bunch of stuff done every year. So in this case, I said, just don't come back here. Let's have it in L.A. Let's have it in L.A. Let's have it in Vegas. I like Vegas.
Yeah, you're a Vegas guy. I remember that from before. Can you, with all the research you have and all the computer power that you have, you can actually predict the results of a season above and beyond the draft itself? The results of a season.
Yeah, it's not 100%, but it's pretty good.
What about
we checked last year and we would have done fairly well. We predicted that your Minnesota team was going to do really well last year
in the regular season, at least.
Yeah, we again, we don't really project into playoffs.
Because you mentioned the gambling industry. Wouldn't you get in trouble doing this predictive thing because of the close affinity?
Well, one of the reasons that we don't put it out there is that the NFL is very good with us in terms of being able to give us access to all the players for testing, and they check off on a lot of things we do. So in return, we agree not to release a lot of that data to like gambling places or concerns like that. You mentioned
the get up drill, 5-yard dash, toe grip. These are drills that you guys came up with a long time ago. You're a pioneer of some of these measurements that were not all that common, didn't exist in the NFL. They now, a lot of this stuff is indeed that people laughed at when you were doing it at the start, now being measured by the league at the combine. So there's that ongoing thing I've always wondered. I mean, how much concern do you have that the league simply just steals your good ideas? You come up with them, and then they co-opt them.
Well, that's one of the things. You got to keep coming up with new stuff. You have to keep asking yourself and continuing to advance your own craft. That's what we do here. We're the leaders in testing. We do more tests on more players and in more areas. For example, there's 650 skeletal muscles in a human body. I mean, there's like 13 major muscle groups. We measure strength and endurance for over 600 of them individually for every single player. Like, for example, like in the human hand, there's I think there's something like 11 intrinsic muscles and 15 extrinsic, I can't even say it, muscles. Everybody knows the strongest muscles in the fingers, the lumbrical and the dorsal interosseous, are almost strongest in your pointer finger and your middle finger. But what really helps for receivers and strength, ring finger and pinky. So for wide receivers and tight ends, very important, but also running backs and quarterbacks. A lot of people focus on hand size for quarterback.
Yeah.
Finger strength, more important. And the league doesn't measure that stuff at the combine. You think they're measuring that stuff at the combine? Combine's a great place for GMs to get together and drink. There's not that kind of stuff going on. That's why we do the measurements.
So ring finger
and then you have to,
and pinky, those are the key fingers.
Strengthen those muscles.
Right.
Especially the lumbrical and the dorsal interosseous. That's the most important stuff.
Okay.
How do you strengthen those? And how do you test for strength in individual fingers?
Well, a lot of it's just we have. It's like it's not like a hand grip sort of a thing. You know how you have those grip.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the machine. It's like it has like one of those things, and you apply pressure. And we like to do this. This is one of those drills we like to do in different climates. When it's cold out, is the hand strength different?
That's fascinating. The pinky and the ring finger matter more than the index finger and the middle finger, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, no, I think you have to have good in all.
Sure, but it's yeah.
But there's a certain level
specialized.
Given.
Yeah, who knew? See, that's the thing.
But if you want to be great, you have to have the other two things.
Did I see, by the way, you got so much stuff in here, and we appreciate you give us a little bit of an advanced view of at least some of it for the purposes of this interview. But have you added what I think it would be called a parapsychological profile number? What's this all about?
Yeah, this is something we came up with. I think I probably talked to you before about numismatists and the science of numbers and how many letters in the name, and because you got to try to experiment, you got to try different things. But what we've done is that after doing all this regression on all these statistics, that there is a certain level of predictive ability that when we do the interviews, when we do the personal interviews. We always have the parapsychologist there. It's kind of like a medium, you know what I mean?
So you're using mediums
like
to help
psychic sort of a person. And sometimes what we can do, and we found it's not 100%.
Yeah.
I want to say it's not 100%. But there's a strong correlation there, and so it's something we take into account. It's important to be able to get, data that you can see and then the data that's out there.
So does the medium have to be in the presence of the player that's being evaluated, or how's that work?
Yeah, we do a series of interviews with all the players.
Yeah, that must be. I bet you that gets the players' attention because no one else is doing that.
No. And we ask different sorts of questions. Remember, we used to do that deal where we would tell the player, we don't do this anymore because we're told it's cruel.
The family test?
We would tell the player, hey, somebody in your family just died, and what their reaction was and how they did with it. And that was determined to be too cruel. We don't do that.
No, probably effective.
How many years did you do that, would you say?
4 or 5.
Are you, speaking of that, you for a long time, we talked about it, used animals in your training, Dobermans, I think at one point even...
Yeah, we started with Dobermans a long time ago.
Tame tigers, exactly. The Doberman Dash, as I recall it. You got some heat for that, which you're accustomed to when you're cutting edge and you're kind of head of the posse. You don't do any of that stuff anymore, do you?
Not with Dobermans, no. And to be honest, it wasn't a great comparison because Dobermans have a very fast sprint and can kind of catch almost any human if you give them enough space. Same with the tigers; they go too fast. We just discovered through testing, and had some scientists on this one. The animal that most closely resembles the speed of a human is something called a sun bear. It's a Malaysian bear.
A sun bear?
It's not a very large. Yeah, it's a sun bear. They come from Asia. It's one of the most agile bears. It's kind of smaller. They don't eat people. They eat mostly honey and bugs, so there's not a little danger of them biting anybody, and that's not going to happen. So, but the bear is very much attracted to honey. So if you put the honey on the athlete, release the bear at the height, and then it's how long can you avoid the bear. So, and the bears are happy.
On the athlete?
There's no issues there.
So
we got 4 different ones.
Is the honey
we got
around?
One named Mai Ling, she is the biggest and the most agile bear we have. So,
Mai Ling is the biggest and most agile bear. And how do you get these bears?
How do you get them?
Well,
you got to go to Malaysia.
Well, yeah, but then how do you what do you do with them once you get them?
These are all domesticated sun bears.
Domesticated. Okay, so all right. And
bears have babies in zoos, Dan.
Where is the honey applied?
The backside.
The backside.
Well, you don't want the bear licking your front.
No, I guess. That's a good point. I guess I hadn't thought of it, but that's why you're you. That's next level stuff. That's a fair point.
How many prospects make it up to the most agile bear? Is it sequential? Do you start with the little bear and build up to the big bear, or do you just guess?
Yeah, it's kind of how it works. I mean, you want to get to the various levels.
Gradations, yeah.
And sometimes, it's like, And there's some like that Shedeur Sanders kid.
Yes,
that guy can get away from almost anybody.
Seriously, including the bear?
Of course.
Yeah. Any mishaps using this particular animal?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet.
We're good.
Yeah, so you're good so far. Let me ask you this. You know, we've talked about this for years. I think I remember I asked you about, whether everybody talks about the cliche, you can't measure the size of a guy's heart, and you said, yeah, you can, and we do.
Yeah.
So
we do all the time. It's a common measurement.
Why is it crucial in your line of work to test every part of every player?
Because you don't know which statistic is going to be the one that matters.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of these draft prospects, right? You have to be able to figure out, okay, what is this guy? How does his trapezoid muscle work? What's the strength of this guy's glutes? I mean, I told you about the fingers, right? So it's like you got to measure everything, and obviously toe grip's important. All the various parts. If you don't do all the measurements, you can't really say that you're a draft expert.
That's stunning. Well, are any parts more difficult to measure than others?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, it's what kind of equipment do you use for the measuring?
Well, for what part?
Any part. Heart?
Well,
is it like a heart scan?
A lot
you're doing
of
with the
gym
heart?
equipment.
Okay, right.
What's that? No, that's an MRI.
MRI. Okay, exactly. All right. Ruler ever used?
I don't know. I don't. Oh, if you're talking what I think you're talking about, no, Dan, no, we're not.
Okay, just wanted to be. It's timely again because of the Anthony Edwards news.
Yeah,
you've tested over the years players' performance on different field types, different times a day, different time zones. You got mocked for that, but the truth is, it's germane, absolutely. Now
it matters.
We got international games becoming more and more the thing. How do you take that into account? I mean, are you testing players overseas?
First of all, it's been very difficult to do. The travel stuff is the real pain. We do not have complete information, but we do have information about 200 kids we went over to Europe and tested them. We did not go to South America for that. And, of course, I got one team who wants to know that because they think they're going to be playing there this year.
Yeah.
So it's never good enough for some of these teams. So we've done the testing there. You don't run into a lot of, you got to go. It's best to go to England because they speak English. Otherwise, there's some, language barriers.
Sure,
why are you doing this with a bear and that sort of thing? And, that's why
uncomfortable.
That's why you got to be.
Delicate questions.
But I'm not sure it makes a whole hell of a lot of difference. I'm finding that we're finding there's not much difference between a New England setting and Europe.
Not that different. By the way, what size of bear are we talking about? How big's the bear?
Well, they're not that big. They're not as big as a person.
Okay,
they're one of the smaller bears out there.
Yeah, but all bears are can be.
It's bigger than a dog.
They all can be kind of vicious, though, can't they?
55 to 143 pounds.
Some bears
basically.
are not vicious.
Some bears,
they're honey and they're bugs.
That's all. That'll tame them right there.
Look it up. They're cute.
I have.
They're cute?
It's an attractive bear.
Attractive bear.
Yeah.
So you can't get mauled by this kind of bear.
Well, they got kind of long claws so they can dig the bugs out.
Well, yeah, but so the claws aren't used on humans at all?
No,
rarely.
The honey's right there on the backside.
On the backside, yeah. Okay, fair enough. We're late, but a couple texts have come in that I want to get your view on. In fact, this one comes from Jared out of Richfield. Celebrations have become very coordinated and really add some great fun to teams. Any measurements for teams looking for creative type players? Those dance moves sure can demonstrate fine motor and hand-eye coordination.
Well, Dan, we haven't had a lot of demand for that. I guess what I would say is if you're more worried about the celebration than scoring the touchdown, I don't think you have a lot of hope, and the kind of teams we deal with don't seem to care.
So not an area, you're not going to go into it if there's not a demand?
No.
Larry Mondello guy checks in, Marty had the pleasure of enjoying one of Green Bay's finer delicacies, the cannibal sandwich. It, of course, is raw ground beef and raw onions on white bread. I recommend washing it down with a cold Blatz.
Yeah, I recommend getting out of Green Bay as fast as you can.
Yeah, faster than a Sun Bear.
I'm not doing that. We're not eating some raw hamburger with a Blatz. No, our clientele is a little higher class than that.
You going to tell us what the Vikings are going to do with their pick?
Not one of my clients, Dan.
What's that all about? That's a change, isn't it?
No, we don't work with Minnesota. Haven't for a while.
I thought, but you did. There was a falling out, wasn't there? Was it? I'm assuming it goes back to the previous.
Every GM thinks they're the smartest.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
That's it. That's a problem, isn't it?
I bet Tyson, you got along swimmingly.
Tyson's a good guy.
Yeah, I think you. Yeah. I could see you and Tice getting along pretty good.
Until you told him to draft Troy Williamson and Erasmus James, and today's the anniversary of that. Although I don't think
not every GM does what you're told to do.
Yeah, that's the thing.
We can't walk the pickup for you.
You get blamed for stuff that you're not responsible for. That's one of the hazards of your job, isn't it?
And we get paid too, Dan, so I'm fine.
Yeah, I figured as much. What's the plan for tonight in Green Bay?
Well, I was hoping to have a client dinner. So we may have to have that catered in, but I think it has to, it's like 90 minutes to Milwaukee. Ugh. And even then, it's still Milwaukee.
Yeah.
We got to try to figure this out. We're looking for a chef in the area to maybe make some
good
dinner.
Luck there.
This again is very hard for us. This is not ideal.
No.
So
do we know?
But you have enough old fashions, doesn't matter.
Then you'll be okay.
We'll be fine.
Marty, God bless you, and we appreciate the time as always, and continued success and trailblazing in this industry, which you've been doing for decade upon decade, and don't suffer the fools, which I know you don't. You don't let the critics get to you. You're able to sort of. It's harder and harder to do that, though. It's a viral world in which we live, but I hope you don't let the fools get you down.
Well, Danny, you've always been good to me, and I appreciate one of two media people we talk to, and so.
Who's the other?
I appreciate it.
Can you tell us who the other is?
Well, I'm sure. Don't you guys have competitive stuff that you don't want to tell all the secrets?
We probably, we're better off not knowing. We'd rather think of ourselves as the only one that has you on.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Well, anyway, have a great time. Marty, I'm going to live through hell here.
Do your best to get through it. Thank you.
Go to the pancake place.
All right.
Thank you. That is the one and only Marty Wexler III. What's the name of that bear again? I got to get the name of that bear. I'll tell you what. Let's. What's the name of the specific? It's from
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
It's a sun bear.
The sun bear.
Yeah.
Had you ever heard of the sun bear?
I had not. No.
That's the beauty of Wexler. They find stuff that no one else has.
And it is a much smaller bear.
It's kind of cute?
Yeah.
You think it'd be a cute pet? I still think bears can be dangerous. Any bear...
Well, it's an omnivore, so that's good.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want a carnivore.
That's not a meativore. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Like they eat ants, bees, beetles, honey, termites, and plants. Well, so you could have it as a pet.
I'm very emotionally and mentally drained right now. Let's try to get caught up. We've gone very late. We'll try to get back on schedule. Russo Radio, top of the hour, and Kessler, I should say, at 5.
Deck.
Wexler made us late, but we still want to remind you that the fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. 4 o'clock keyword is green. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword green.
Sean from Bovey, Minnesota. Dan, there was a sun bear exhibit at the Minnesota Zoo from 1992 to 2010.
Is that right?
I remember it was heavily advertised, and I took the kids there. Sean from Bovey. I don't remember. I'm sure, had at least one Minnesota Zoo visit during that period. I may have seen a sun bear without realizing it was a sun bear.
You didn't have any honey with you.
That's probably the issue.
You don't want a sun bear licking your front. Remember that.
That's the key quote.
Wexler told us.
Our last. I'm not sure I would be in favor of the sun bear licking honey off, the backside either. Would
no.
You? I mean, but I guess.
But if you want to get the test right.
Yeah. all bears are omnivores. They'll eat just about anything, just like people and pigs. Another confirmation, sun bears at the Minnesota Zoo. You know, it's funny because he mentioned, did Marty Wexler III, that they're looking for somebody to sort of cater their event. I got to admit, the first guy I thought it was Gerbschmidt, but I didn't think Marty would have any interest in trusting a local, well, in this case, Elk Mound Rube for his,
right.
What is it, the kielbasa risotto?
Bratwurst
risotto, yeah. I didn't think there was any point in bringing that up because I just thought he would immediately dismiss it.
Although he's in pretty dire straits,
yeah, that's
so
true.
He might be desperate.
That's true, too.
To give it a shot.
Well, maybe we can still put them together. I don't know. That would be the ultimate. That'd be a hell of a story if that was indeed the case. Dan, how dare you spend time with this Marty guy when the world is burning? You just don't get it. So sad. Well played. I think it might be a callback. Tell him to go to Fuzzy's 63. Is that as in Fuzzy Thurston's 63? The
I don't think I've ever heard of
offensive
it.
lineman, Fuzzy Thurston. I'm not familiar with Fuzzy. You?
Yeah, it's got to be Fuzzy's. Yeah, number 63.
Is it a restaurant?
It's a sports bar and grill.
Sports bar. Okay, there you go.
Welcomes you to Pack-A-Country.
Fuzzy's.
Although Yelpers say it's closed.
Oh, is that right?
Just in a quick Google. Yeah.
I'm not sure. He surprises me every year. I'm not sure I had on my Wexler bingo card using mediums.
Right.
Because that sounds
that
very
kind of went under the radar.
Counter, sort of analytical or even hardcore medical research, etc. But I think in Marty's case, it's the old we're gonna use all sorts of different tools, and so it must be a bit off-putting and jarring for a player to walk into a room and be introduced to a medium that's going to attempt to analyze, get the vibes on that individual.
Right.
Right.
But like he says, you never know.
That's true.
The nugget that's going to break the tie. Makes sense to have all the information.
Are sun bears historically domesticated? Or is that a contradiction in terms of a domesticated sun bear?
I'm pretty sure they're not usually domesticated.
Because somebody wants that as our State Fair T-shirt.
Domesticated
sun bear.
Well, given some of the grandstand acts that I've seen released, I wouldn't mind a band named Domesticated Sun Bear coming in and playing a couple sets.
You're right. That is actually a very good name. Tell Marty to try Chives Restaurant, 1749 Riverside Drive, Suamico, Wisconsin. Am I pronouncing that right? Suamico? Is it Suamico?
Yeah, but that's near the Dells, I think. I don't think that's
closer to the Dells.
I don't think that's Green Bay.
Yeah, that might be what it is.
Looks nice. I think I've been there.
Seriously?
Yeah, when looking at the picture.
Oh.
Maybe.
Chris from
It's
Lionel
always a little
Lakes
fuzzy when you get over to Wisconsin.
Is disappointed. Every year you have this guy on, and all he does is talk about how great he is and his company are, and gives zero inside info who the Vikings will draft. That's what we care about. It's like you're talking to a politician. Zero useful information. Well, I guess it all depends on what you're looking come to the segment for. Because
right.
I think he's always been less about an individual player and more about the for us, the new directions that he's taking, the system. Did you sense, what would you say in the history of Marty Wexler III's draft research would be the single most controversial test? I think it's got to be the one he alluded to that he claims they don't do anymore.
The family test.
The family test, where you bring a player into the room and you tell him.
Well, you're doing an interview.
You're interviewing him, yes. And during that process, you're going back and forth. Somebody else comes into the room, taps the interviewer on the shoulder, whispers in his ear. And at that point, then the Marty Wexler type, whoever is in there, then tells said player that a member of his family is deceased.
And they see how the player reacts.
The idea is one of our measurables will be, how do you handle that? I don't think there can be anything more controversial than that.
No, and I'm glad he stopped doing that.
Even the Doberman drill, I think, is not as controversial as that one. Yeah.
No, because there's some guardrails within all the animal testing, we think.
Yeah.
The one he talked about last year, we probably should have asked him about, but I think he had to stop that one as well. And clearly, well, I guess all the testing's been done, though. Remember the one last year where it basically sounded like he was hiring escorts? It was like a confidence test.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Does the prospect have the confidence when this woman comes into the room, essentially, to hit on her?
Yeah,
it was something like that.
That could be.
And he kind of tiptoed around that one. And then when we pinned him down, it was pretty much just a sex thing.
All right. Well, yeah. And that my guess is that probably because there's been a lot of trial and error over the years. And they've pushed the envelope occasionally, but usually they figure in the long grand scheme of things, there's another way to gather some of that same research without being that controversial.
I know you're not a big cook, but I'll ask you this question on the way out here. Can you make an omelet without breaking any eggs? You can't.
No, I don't think you can. That's the saying,
At
right?
some point, the eggs have to break for you to make the omelet.
It's the only way you can learn.
Even if you get it in, the egg whites, and it's just the container. It's got to be broken.
Let's do this. We need to get another break in, right? We'll
Correct.
get better caught up. Russo Radio is going to join us at the top of the hour. Kessler in the 5 o'clock hour as well.
Reminder, it is a Wolves Back Talk Back Wednesday on KFAN. We've got your shot to win Timberwolves versus Lakers Game 3 tickets for Friday night. Just like earlier in the weekend last week, send us your talk back on the iHeartRadio app telling us in 30 seconds or less how you think the Timberwolves beat the Lakers in this series. Stay tuned all day today to hear if you were selected as the winner. We will give our winner out probably right around 6 o'clock during Pat Kessler. But Wolves Back Talk Back Wednesday, Game 3 tickets on the line. Hit the app.
Looks like you're off the hook on the top 5 at 5. Russo Radio is going to join us at the top of the hour. We mentioned yesterday, and then Kessler at 5:30. We may get to a Moriarty update, quoting from a new Star Tribune piece at, actually, though, we're going to try to go long on Russo. I may try to squeeze something in towards the end of Russo on that update, although we could also save it for Special K. That story is on his list of things to discuss. Twins find themselves, interestingly, in the exact same position they were a year ago, struggling out of the gate, and then the White Sox and the Angels came to town back-to-back, and the Twins got well. And for several months, the Twins became the talk of the town, right? The Twins were very successful. They were a first-place team until the collapse late. And yesterday, right on time, as Rick Bozich texted me, the White Sox came to the rescue of the struggling badly Minnesota Twins. It's a 3-game series. I think there's another night game tonight, and then there's a getaway day game tomorrow. And I had mentioned yesterday, I guess there is a bit of a litmus test here. If the Twins can't take advantage like they did a year ago of these two series, especially the White Sox, then we may really know they're in some significant trouble. The allegation I got earlier when we were talking about the Buxton catch was that this falls under the classification of a catch that he made look more difficult than it actually was, that he did not need to leave his feet to make this catch. That's quite an allegation. It's not unprecedented. It's been made. There's even sometimes where players privately make such accusations.
I thought White Sox center fielder did that a little bit in the first inning last night.
Is that right?
Kind of the old lost it in the sun, and I think Buck hit it.
Oh, is it?
It was just lashed into left center, and he kind of hung there for a minute and then got on his horse and made the catch.
And he did make the catch.
Yes.
So I don't know. I would have to take another long, hard look at it. It did seem to save things because I think in the ninth, the White Sox had the bases loaded, nobody out, and they scored one. And if that ball goes to the wall, I will say this. It was because whoever we have playing right field, I think said it was one of the greatest catches in the history of baseball or something to that effect or something pretty dramatic. I don't know if it was a good catch.
It was.
Definitely a good catch and a clutch catch. I'm not sure I would go quite to that level. I'm not even sure I'd call it top 5 Buxton catch. That's just me.
Was it Larnach that said that? Or was it Kiersey who was in there?
It was, I think, the latter. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken.
So I've never heard of Kiersey, so it's possible that he just started playing baseball like 3 years ago.
Tell Marty to go to the Republic Chop House downtown Green Bay. The Republic Generally, you name a thing Chop House, people go, kind of good.
And
intriguing.
Wisconsin's going to have some good beef.
You think so?
Yeah, it's not all in the Butterburgers at Culver's. They've got to have some good steaks.
What's the place before you were part of the show, we did I want to say it was a Chad Barreiro show from, was it Kroll's?
Kroll's West?
Might have been Kroll's.
Isn't that, yeah, they call it that. They've got a good burger, don't they?
The occasion was that it was the Randy Moss Monday night coming out party game.
Jeez, that's a big day.
We did a show, the Monday show from, I want to say it was Kroll's. Hartman would remember. He's much better remembering those specifics
he does
than
lock
me.
in.
Yeah, we did a show from there, and then hung around for I was still writing at that point, but we did some pregame stuff. In fact, I think my recollection is I did then some pregame stuff with Rosen on Channel 4 as well. This was before the Fox 9 affiliation began. For both of us,
it's a
quite
big
frankly.
Night.
That's a long time.
Those were the days.
Salad days is what they were.
98.
It's tremendous. Think about it.
I do, all the time.
All right, so we got Russo Radio to review a big, wild victory on the road. Is it the start of something big? We'll get to that, and even the possibility, Russo says, of maybe changing the third defenseman pair. So all of that and more. If you have questions for Russo, 64686 is the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text.